The active weather just keeps on coming. I'll tell you what, this has been one of the more active June periods that I can ever remember. This is some hail that fell in North Jefferson County. We had close to ping pong ball size hail in Jefferson County in central Alabama on Friday afternoon, but it got even bigger than that over around the Tuscaloosa area and into Greene County and Pickens County in particular. There were places where car windows were blown out, and even Interstate 2059 had to be shut down for a while. Now, I'm recording this just before 9:30 p.m., so 2059 is open again, but look at the traffic problems that this has caused. There's still a backup in Tuscaloosa County late Friday evening. Parts of Highway 11 are still closed around Ralph because of debris on the road. Sipsey Valley Road area, and then a lot of debris, US 11 down through parts of northern Greene County too. So that was one of the more significant thunderstorms that we've seen this entire period in central Alabama, and that rolled through on Friday evening with massive hail. Some places in Mississippi, in Lowndes County, close to Columbus Air Force Base and Caledonia, they had close to 5-inch diameter hail. Unbelievable. Bigger than softballs. So here at 9:27 p.m., got another big batch of storms headed down toward the Gulf Coast. If you know somebody who's down at the beach, they're going to get walloped tonight. There is a flash flood warning that remains in effect in Pickens County. Flash flood warning there until 9:30 p.m., so that expires here pretty soon. And that was all because of the heavy rain that we had that just wouldn't let up. The storm that really ramped up today. Now, we did have some areas of hail reported in Jefferson County. There was some hail reported in Clay County, some strong winds over here in Tallapoosa County. But all of this right here was one big cluster of thunderstorms, and the thing was rotating pretty much the whole way. There was incredible rotation, but it was big and broad, not the kind of rotation that you look for when you're expecting a tornado. That moved down toward the south. Now, the question is that a derecho? And we talked about derechos with the big thing that hit last night. We're not quite going to get there with it based on those reports, but if you look down south, and we're going to get outside of the range of WVTM 13 live Doppler here in just a minute, but there's hail, and if there's any wind damage down here in Wilcox County or Clark County, Monroe County, and if it keeps on rolling with wind damage down through Escambia County, continuous wind damage, we could come close to derecho status on what just came through West Alabama too. Here's the enhanced satellite imagery. This is so cool to watch, not so cool to experience. I'll turn the warnings off because those are present time based on the system clock, and the satellite data is based on a different clock. Watch what happened here. We had this big blow up of storms because there was a boundary right here. And within that, there was convergence. So you had wind coming out of the southwest here and sort of out of the west to maybe just a bit northwest, and then a few spots northeast coming out of central Alabama. So that convergence was enough to get the storms going on Friday afternoon. But then look back to the west. Now, that thing right there, this thing, as it rolls back to the beginning, was the derecho in Texas, and a new one's developing out there tonight. So watch this. Here it comes. That thing traveled 700 miles, producing wind damage the whole way. Is there a chance that something else like that could happen this weekend? Yes, it is possible. Is it as likely as that one? No, probably not. I think given the way some of our guidance looks right now, it's a bit less likely that we get a progressive derecho like that one. And what comes in on Sunday, it depends on where it hits and how long it tracks, but I don't think it's going to have quite the fuel that one does. Look at there. Early in the morning, big storms down in South Alabama using that storm updraft potential, updraft helicity, and how they're spinning. Updraft helicity doesn't mean it's producing a tornado. It just means that there's some rotation within the storms. That'll be an issue through tomorrow morning. 6 o'clock in the morning, more showers. And then look at this. We recover after having been under the cold pool, which, by the way, the cold pool is just the cool air behind the thunderstorms. 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Oh, man. It's humid. It's hot. We're close to 90. The Cape is just off the charts again. Cape up here in the neighborhood of, 2,000, 2,500 joules per kilogram. A huge amount of energy available for these storms. And then what happens with them? They have some rotation again. So some of these long-lasting storms in the same places again: Utah, Greensboro, Forkland, New Bern, Demopolis, Centerville, Old Kingston, Jemison, Thorsby, Clanton, even Walker County, Cullman County, and Blount County. We may get some of this same stuff yet again, and then look what happens to it. It moves to the south, and we get more strong storms over South Alabama. So here's another view of that same situation from the graph model. This is the IBM model. And not as much thunderstorm activity Saturday afternoon, but there still could be some heavy ones. But then look at this thing out to the west. Okay, here's where I'm talking about maybe there's another progressive derecho. So if, and it's a big if, there's enough instability and enough dynamics to help keep this alive and keep it sustained all the way from Oklahoma. It's a matter of where does she go? Now, earlier this week, this is the path that I would have predicted for it based on upper air wind patterns and everything else. But now it appears that it may try to curve a little to the south, still probably hitting Alabama at some point, but it's more of a Mississippi, west, and southwest Alabama issue, probably farther north than the one that hit on Thursday night, but still quite an issue. So here's 6 a.m. Saturday, or 6 a.m. Sunday. There's probably not that much going on, but boy, what a line of storms. Now, is the graph perfectly correct on the placement and the time? No. None of these are going to be that way. So never look at it in terms of, well, the graph was right this time or this one was right that time. No, they're not going to be right. They can sometimes be like a broken clock and be right now and then, but this one is not going to be perfectly correct. Then look what happens. It moves through West Alabama. Now, if the graph is correct, then we get cold pool right here. And what a cold pool will do is spread out rain-cooled air in all directions like that around it, and it may stabilize central and west Alabama pretty significantly. So if that's the case, if that thing does move through, then it kind of cuts off an afternoon threat for everyone except north and east Alabama. So then that's who we'd have to look out for, because there would be another little boundary that manages to get set up, and it would be something like this right here. So you would have kind of a backward cold front right in there. And so that's where the cold air is. I may have drawn it a little bit ahead of the storms, but you get the idea, where the rain-cooled air is, and it's expanding outward, so that would lead to additional thunderstorms. So how's this all going to work out for us in the 7-day forecast? So I've left Saturday as an impact day, Sunday is an impact day, and here's why. Impact does not mean that everybody gets severe weather. It means we could have some locally heavy thunderstorms, and by locally, I mean you probably get a decent covering of them in here, and then a few scattereds that are out in this area, and then much better coverage down toward the Gulf Coast. So impact day, a greater risk to the south. On Sunday, it depends on the path of that complex. Does it do something like this right here? If it does, then we'll get the rain-cooled air that helps to shut down the afternoon threat. If instead it makes a move more like this toward the Alabama Gulf Coast, well, then Katie bar the door, because we've got the heat, we've got the humidity, the high up here close to 90 degrees, damaging wind gusts, hail, flash flooding would be possible. The slight risk, that's the yellow, by the way, the slight risk right in here, that covers most of West Alabama, including the Birmingham metro area. And then you look up here toward Northeast Alabama and you wonder, well, hey, what about Jackson County and DeKalb County and Cherokee County? It just remains to be seen. How that initial wave comes through the state is going to dictate a lot about what happens on Sunday. Round one would be fairly early. Round two, if we don't get slobber knocked by that morning round, would be starting around noon and going potentially to as late as midnight. Well, what about the rest of next week? Let me just let you in on a secret here. There's a chance of a thunderstorm out here every single day. But right now, if I had to pick a day where I think storms would be roughest next week, it's going to be somewhere in this Wednesday, Thursday time frame. Be aware of what's going on this week. WVTM 13 app, it's a great resource. We've got our live radar on there. It's the only place you're going to see live radar. You can get it right there in the palm of your hand and track the storms. It's ahead of the NexRad. And look, both radars are great. It's good to have both of them. But having that is just a little extra tool in your hand to help you with your decision making on Father's Day weekend and beyond. And I think we're going to have to be making decisions with thunderstorms again all the way through next week.